Afternoon. Afternoon, Terry.
Afternoon.
Okay, we'll start. Welcome to our Power Automate lunchtime learning session. Today, so I'm Shailan and
I am Terry.
been joined by Terry today. So we're going to walk you through Power Automate, where it sits in the Power Platform, a bit of a demonstration, and then and leave you to with Power Automate and some learning around Power Automate. So first of all, and if you came to the last one, you may have noticed and seen this slide before. The Power Platform. So Power Automate is part of Microsoft's Power Platform. And we spoke about the other elements. So Power BI for your business analytics and data analytics, Power Apps for your low code, low cost Power Apps and application development. We spoke about different types there. Virtual agents for things like your bots and integration, and Power Automate. So Power Automate is that business process automation, previously known as flows, and people call it flows. But Power Automate is for process automation, business process automation. So think about a process, think about applications, RPA, which stands for robotic process automation, interface as well. So it goes from from a Power Automate perspective, this is Microsoft's version of business process management within the Power Platform. Again, with Power Automate, not to be confused with Azure Automation, slightly different. But with Power Automate, we will show you today how to build a flow to do something, right? So if something changes based on a value, send an alert, go through the next process of the next sequence of that business process. So with Power Automate, I'll describe a flow. So a flow could be a simple kind of flow, such as a holiday request. So an employee within the organization sends a request, like a holiday request. The request comes in. Power Automate recognizes that an individual has requested leave. It could do something like look at the allowance, look at maybe when other people are away as well, look at a group calendar, look at individual calendars, send an approval workflow. And when that approval goes to somebody, they can either accept or reject it with some kind of follow-up. And if it's accepted, it will take off the allowance, put it into the calendar, maybe send something in, an Outlook calendar. But that's a process. Another one could be something like expenses and expense management. I mean, we use something similar. So expenses come in, it tags them into the right kind of expense, so which categories they are. If it's travel, then, so if it's travel, if it's public travel, VAT is not applied. If it's something like subsistence, VAT could be applied. I mean, and only recently that's changed again to 20%. There was a 12.5% and then 20%. So categorizing, so it could work out that kind of categorization and then submit for approval. And if it's approved, then you could have another flow to actually pay as well. So it's some kind of payment provider, because with Power Automate, it's not just limited to flows within your organization. You can call external applications. The three we talked about before at the bottom around data connectors, AI Builder and Dataverse, will all, again, tightly integrated with Power Platform. But the example that I'm going to walk you through, we will look at Dataverse as a repository being part of the Power Platform. So I will present and walk you through a kind of workflow. So if how's that, Terry? Can you see it?
I can see everything. Yeah. Yes, I can see it.
Okay. So the first thing is I've logged in to my Power Platform environment. Okay, so again, make.powerapps.com, and within the Power Platform environment, again, select your environment, whichever environment it is. So I'm going to go to and look at a sandbox environment. Okay, so this clearly cloudy sandbox environment. Within this environment, there's something called flows on the left-hand side. So flows is the Power Automate area. And you can have things like cloud flows, desktop flows, and I can also look at flows that are shared with me. Now, this is not the full extent, or may not be the full extent of all of the flows. And if you wanted to see, because as an administrator, if you're especially an admin for Power Platform, you may be interested in looking at, well, do we have lots of flows, and what kind of flows are running? When were they last run? Because unless they're explicitly shared with you, even if you're an admin, you won't see them. And in order to see everything, all of the flows, you can go into your admin center, your Power Platform admin center. And within the admin center, I'm going to click on environments. And underneath environments, pick an environment. So if I say this one here, this clearly cloudy sandbox environment. On the right-hand side at the bottom, there's something called flows. And this will show me, there are only two there, a list of every single flow. Now, as an administrator, and if you are an administrator, it's good to know where these are, and it's good to just keep an eye on them. So I can see that there are two flows. If I wanted to look at the flows, and if I noticed that it hadn't been shared, and I want to look further into it, you can, because you're an administrator. You can say share with you, or take a look at the details of the flow. But you can share it with you and then take a look at it in further detail. Right, I'll go back to flows. Let's create a new flow. So in order to create a new flow, you can build a flow from a template. Now, if you've enabled templates, then you'll see templates, and you can actually start with some kind of template. You can have an instant flow, so just run when you do it. You can schedule a flow for on a time basis. A desktop flow will run on your local machine. But I'm going to say an automated cloud flow. So by clicking on an automated cloud flow, you give it a name. So let's just say SC test 1, 2, 3. Email alerts. Then a flow is based off a trigger. So something has to happen. So these are event triggers. So something happens, and then it goes to the next sequence of this flow. So in this example, I'd like to base it off something in Dataverse. So what I'd like to say is within Dataverse, if I can spell correctly, within Dataverse, when an action is performed, or when a row is modified or deleted, that's exactly what I'd like. What I'd like to know is, because if you think about you're building an application, or you're building a process, I'm going to use Dataverse as the storage engine, or the data repository. And when something's updated within a particular table, I'd like people to be notified of that. So this is just an example. So I'm going to say when a row is added, modified, or deleted, I'll create it. Now, when you create it, it connects to your Dataverse. Now, Dataverse, remember, is on the left-hand side here under tables. So if I open up another window, on the left-hand side, I'm in the same environment. Again, to make sure you're in the same environment, click on tables. This is Dataverse. These are your tables, or these are the tables that I can see within Dataverse, within this environment. So if I click on all, a list of all of the tables. Now, a lot of the tables, if you haven't seen Dataverse, they are very CRM-like. Okay, so account and contact and emails that may have been sent out, and that's because when Microsoft developed the Power Platform, and when they developed Dataverse, which is CDS before, they actually built their own application, and that application is Dynamic CRM. So all of these tables kind of relate back to Dynamics. So when they say something like in the name MS DIN, that stands for Microsoft Dynamics. I have a table called AAA test locations. It doesn't say MS DIN because that's a custom table that I've created as part of just an application. So what I'd like to do in this flow is if I click on this and I say edit at the top, it will show me a grid with all of the records in there. So I can scroll down, scroll up, and it shows me the records. What I would like to do is if a row is modified or deleted or edited within here, I would like some kind of alert. So I'll go back to our flow. So now, what's the change type? So I've already said I would like it a new row or modified or deleted. So that would be this one. However, you could have if it's just added, if it's deleted, if it's been modified. I'm going to go with all. Okay, so added, modified, or deleted. Select your table. So within the table, within a drop down, again, this is looking at Dataverse. So the table that I'm interested in is this one here. Now, what happens with Power Platform, your table names, it just makes them in. So it does add and makes them into plurals there. So AAA test locations. So that's the table. And a scope is if it's just for a business unit, if it's for the whole organization, if it's for a particular user. So let's go with the organization. Now that's so a row modified within this table. There are advanced options. So advanced options, things like you can select a field, you can filter information, you can run as an account, you can delay, you can put some kind of trigger on there. I'm not going to do all of that or any of those for this example, but I am going to add a new step. Now, when you add a new step, these are connectors and these are the actions. So you have your trigger event, a row or a modified row or a deleted row within a table. And then within here, we can choose an operation being, well, I would like to email. So let's just stick with that for now. So in order to send an email, you can search. And these are connectors. So I'm going to search for Outlook. And I'm going to, and so what I like to do is say Outlook 365 and send an email. So you can create a contact, create an event. So I'm going to say send an email. So I'm going to send an email to, and within your organization, because I've logged in here, you can look for people. You can do it externally as well. But I'm going to send an email to Moena.
David is also in the chat if you want to do it to David as well.
Oh, thanks, Terry. Thanks for the prompt.
You're welcome.
David. Email, like, bombarding them with emails.
Yes.
So in the subject, again, it can be dynamic. So in the subject, yes, you can hard code it. This is my test email or whatever you want to call it. Or you can add dynamic content. It's already popped up. So you can pick things from here. So you can say, well, actually, I'd like content based on the name of this or a field within there. So you can add that in there. Even in the body text, you can put some expressions in and because this is how, if you had some kind of text in an email and you want to put some parameters in there and say, change this for the actual name of the person, you can do that. But I'll just say, okay, test. Let's go with address, created by, and the name. Now, if you wanted to add a new step, you can. So that's the first part. That's the second part. Then you can add another step. Again, you can search for triggers or anything there. So just to quickly show you, there are lots of connectors. So yes, you can scroll, but you can go to all, and then built-in ones are standard ones. Premium ones have a different license associated because with Power Platform, there's your licensing and there's premium licensing. So these are premium connectors. But if I search for, okay, I'd like to create a row in SQL Server, you can search for SQL, find SQL Server, and what you like to do. I'd like to get a row, update a row, insert a row. You can do that. And it says premium next to it because that's a premium connector. I'll go back. And this time, well, there are lots of online things and other applications as well. So maybe if it's Dynamics 365, you can search for it and say, okay, Dynamics. So Dynamics 365, he goes, there's Dynamics NAV, Dynamics 365 Business Central, Dynamics 365, there's Finance and Operations, so F&O. You can do something there. You can pick other ones like SAP. You can look for, let's see if LinkedIn's there. I think I know it is. So LinkedIn, Salesforce, there are a whole host of connectors. There are even things for things like Power BI. So Power BI, refresh a Power BI page or export something to file. So imagine if you had a report, to export it, you could do that. So there are a lot of connectors out of the box. So I'll close that. That's it. I'm just going to say Windows row is modified. I'll save. Get ready, David. Get ready, Moana. So now we'll go back. There's our flow. If you click on the ellipses, it says turn off, which actually implies that it's already on. So we can switch it off. We'll look at the run history. Nothing there. So again, I'll go back. Now, one quick thing, one quirk of Power Platform. If you click on flows again here, you'll think, okay, I'll go back to my main flows. No, you have to move away and then go back to it. Okay, so there are the flows. So let's just see. So I'll go to my table. I'll add a new row, and I'll call this Brighton. Enter. So add in a new row, and then we'll add another row, new row, and
spam their emails.
oh yeah, they'll get it for
Yes,
against all, won't they?
just keep spamming them.
I forgot the town that Moana lives in. I'll just say Kent for now. She's in Kent somewhere.
Your other flow from last night is also running, so your flow low is coming to me.
Okay, right. So I've added 2 rows, and you should receive an email. They should receive an email. So I'll move away a bit, and then I'll just refresh this page. Okay, I'm going to refresh
David
the page.
said he received the email.
Oh, you received it. Oh, excellent, David. So let's take a look at the run history. Hold on. So I created one yesterday. So if I look at the run history of the one yesterday, okay, so it sent an email to somebody, and that somebody was.
And Moana has also received it.
Send email to T Hughes, and that was from yesterday. So that actually ran. So you can actually look at the flow. So this one executed twice today. And if we look at the run history of the latest one that we just created, okay, so succeeded. So you should have both received the emails, and Terry, you've confirmed they have. So I'll go back to flows, tables, flows. So that's the flow, and it's actually running. Now, when you develop these flows, we've seen this lots, as we work with other organizations and clients, we see a lot where they've created things, but maybe they forget to switch them off, because that happens quite frequently. So make sure, if it's just a test one, turn the flow off, right? So I can say turn it off, and you can switch them all on or off. If you turn it off, it just goes that bit of opaque, so it'll just say, okay, so it's not running now. And I'll do the same here, because otherwise I will forget. But with that, Terry, do you want to quickly show us?
So now you've done your sensible flows.
Okay, so hold on a minute. So if I stop sharing, give me a second then. I've stopped sharing. Go on then. I think you'll need to share your screen.
I will. So
do you want to quickly show the email coming through?
My one, yeah, I can open it. 1 second. It's GUID, but it's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so if I share my screen. So there's my GUID email from yesterday, which is test 1 2 3 flow low 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 low, which just came from
It's a bit
your
like a song.
yes. So you obviously did Power Flows from Power Apps, but obviously because it's like a whole Power Platform, you can also do flows within Power BI. They work slightly differently. So I've kind of made 3 buttons here. I'll just talk you through how I've made them. So if you're a consultant and have lots of different email addresses, just make sure that you're signed into Power BI into the email address that links with the Power Apps or Power Flows. And then on the right here with your visualizations, you have actually got Power Automate for Power BI. Power Automate for Power BI is based on buttons. So it will create a button. So if you click on it, for example, it will come up here with this little Power Automate thing. And all you have to do is click on the ellipsis and click on edit, and then it will open up a separate little screen, which is then about Power Automate. So from here, this is where I've made my new flow as an instant cloud flow. So it's based on when a button is pressed, it will then complete the flow. So if I just open this one, for example, I've called it my annoying button. And if I go into edit, here you can see the flow is when it loads. So it will press the button, then it will post a message into a chat or a channel. So I've set it as a dynamic thing. So it will be the user. So whichever user presses the button, it will come up as them. And I've done it to post into a group chat. Now, because I've logged into me on these teams, it gives you a list of every single chat that you have access to. So I've selected the team catch up one, which is for the whole of Clearly Cloudy, so they will enjoy this message. And then I've picked which message that they will receive. And then as it goes down the flow, once that has been completed, it will then go down to this one, which is then to send an email, which is called annoying and hello there. Now, as I know David and Rowena are also in the chat, we will also add them, and I'll add Shailan as well. One thing to note about obviously Power Apps as well, you can have it so it splits. So you can do it so it has like 2 things happening at the same time. So you can do it as like a control thing and it can split and do different things. So I'm just going to save that one there. So that's my annoying button. So I can press. And then, oh, I've accidentally run it. Don't run. We don't want to run that yet. So then I've also made 2 other buttons, which I'll just quickly show you. So here is my button. With the buttons, you can edit them like you can like a normal button on Power BI. So you can change the color, you can change what happens when it's defaulted, hovered, or selected. You can change the text, and you can change the size. You can't change the shape. So if you click on the 3 dots, we can go to edit, and again, it will open that Microsoft Power Automate section. And I'm going to go into the create a task from Power BI. So this is a different flow, which here, so when this button is clicked, it will then create a task within Outlook. So in Outlook, they've got that task section that's included. So I have it actually open here. So in the Outlook section, you have your tasks. Now, when this one is pressed, it will actually add a task to my one, I believe, and it will say that that user needs help with a task because it's signed into my Outlook. So whoever presses on this button, it will then send this task there with the subject of help whoever's pressed it with a task with the timestamp, which is also dynamic. And then you can put in some bodied context. So I just put the user ID requires help, contact them. The other button that I have made is this one, which when you hover it says send for help. Is an I need help button. So when you edit this one, it comes up with this flow. So this is this one here. And in this one, it just sends an email. So this one goes to me, Shailan. I'll just pop Moena and David in as well, just so they can get some nice spamming. I've customized the subject, so the username of whoever presses it will be in there, and then it says pushed for help, and then it says I need help. So again, you can put like the time stamp of when it was pressed and things like that, but it's not necessarily required in an email, as emails already do have a timestamp. So I'm just going to save and apply that to make sure that's saved. And when you apply it, it's applying to that current button. So here then I have my 3 buttons that I have created, and I'm now just going to publish it to the service. They won't work on the desktop, so I'm just going to put it in my workspace so no one else can play with it. Otherwise, that would be quite fun during the day to send lots of messages to everyone. I'm sure they would enjoy it. Right, so that has successfully published. So I am now going to go to my buttons. So I'm just going to refresh it. So I have my 3 buttons. I've done it I've done it so when you hover on them they say different things. So on the annoy someone it says let's do it. Set a task to help me, send for help, and I need help, send for help. So I'm going to click on this one first, and it says it's triggering, so you know it's doing something, and then it says it's been triggered. And then you can also, you can see I'm included, so I just had an email, but then also you can look into the run times and everything when you go back onto the desktop. I'll show you that in a second. We then have this one here, which is set a task to help me. So you can click on that one. You can again see it's triggering, and now that one has been triggered. When that does pop up in here, I will show you, but it's just coming up. It's not there yet. Oh, there you go. Here it is. Help Terry Hughes with a task. And then again, I have another email. And then the final one, which is to annoy someone, which I have done, is triggering on there. So that one now hopefully has now gone to people. I know I've just received an email. It's just buzzed. It says hello there. And hopefully in a second on this team catch up one, you can see there without showing all my messages. Hello all, I pressed a button to be annoying. That is all. See you at lunch and learn. So I've now got it. So it now just goes to a Teams chat as well. When you go back into here, you can obviously go back into the 3 dots to go into this area, and you can look into the run history of everything. So of the annoying button, we can look at the run history, not edit. That's not quite. So there we go. You can go down here. You can see the 28-day history. So you can see how long it took to run, if it succeeded, and if it failed, it will tell you why it failed if you click into it. So that one obviously failed in this area, and it'll tell you why. So that's just kind of another thing you can do with with Power Automate. I do like just clicking the buttons just to annoy everyone, so spam everyone's emails. But yeah, that's just another thing you can do because obviously it's Power Platform, everything is integrated and can be used. I believe though, if you do use Power Automate with Power BI, you will need a Power Apps license and a Power BI license though. And that's kind of it in a nutshell, Shailen. How to
Brilliant.
annoy your teammates or your colleagues.
Well, you have. Yeah, don't worry. In the meantime,
Moena just said, I received emails and Teams annoying. So good.
yes, I received them as well.
You're
So
welcome.
just to be even more annoying, I've just added a
Thank you.
whole load of data into that table. I switched the flow back on, added a whole load of data in that table. So you should have got lots of emails now.
Moena
Um,
says, I've got tons of emails now.
so that's Power Automate. I mean, there are some really good examples, Terry, there, and the integration from Power BI to Power Automate. But from a Power Automate perspective, I mean, it's part of the Power Platform. You can automate processes. You can set up, robotic process automation. You can look and search for things like triggers and then events. And I know we gave an example of emails, but it can work through business processes. So with that,
Approval flows.
yeah, with that we'll end. And if there are any questions, then please just type away, and we should see them popping up.
I feel like Moena and Dave are currently just sat in their emails, deleting lots of emails, giving them a task for the afternoon.
Send them lots of tasks.
Oh no, it only goes to mine, unfortunately. So let's keep that Power BI hidden away in my workspace.
Brilliant. Thanks for joining, Terry.
Thank
And
you very
thank you
much.
all. Have a good weekend, everyone. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.